I'm 64 years old, and I still don't sleep like a man who trusts the world. My late wife, Elise, used to tap my chest with 2 fingers and say, "You keep your heart under lock and the key under your tongue." She wasn't wrong. I'm Warren Hale, retired dock foreman, 28 years on the water in Port Sable, Maine, the kind of town where the ocean decides your mood before you do, where everyone recognizes your truck by the squeak of the back shock, where nothing truly stays secret, except the things people are willing to kill for. That Thursday in early December, the wind had teeth. It came off the Atlantic and found every crack in the windows like it was searching for a way inside. The old house creaked inside, the porch chain clinked, and I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling the way old men do when sleep won't take them. At 12:17 a.m., my phone buzzed on the nightstand. Once. Then again. I didn't reach for it right away. I listened first. Habit. Dock habit. Years of night shifts, alarms, bad weather, men falling off boats, engines catching fire. Everything in my world had always started with a sound. The phone buzzed again. I picked it up and saw the name. Noah. My chest tightened so hard it felt like my ribs were trying to fold inward. My son hadn't called me past 9 since the night we buried Elise. Noah Hale doesn't do late-night calls. He schedules dentist appointments like a military operation. He sends birthday texts 2 days early, just in case. He checks weather reports when it's sunny. He's the most disciplined human being I've ever produced. So when his name flashed at midnight, I didn't think, "What's up?" I thought. "Who's dead?" I answered before the third buzz. Noah. His voice was calm. Not calm like everything is fine. Calm like a man standing on the edge of something and forcing his legs not to shake. "Don't talk," he said. "Just listen. You need to do exactly what I say, right now." I sat up so fast my spine cracked. "Son, it's..." "Dad." One word, hard as a hammer. "No questions. Not yet, you understand?" I swallowed. My throat tasted like metal. "I'm listening. Turn off every light in the house. Every single one. Now." I looked at the dim bedroom. Only the hallway nightlight glowed under the door. "Why?" "Dad, please." That word please was worse than panic. Panic is loud. Panic is messy. Please is what a man says when he's trying not to beg. I slid out of bed, barefoot on cold wood, and moved through the house like a shadow. I killed the nightlight. I killed the kitchen lamp. I shut off the living room Christmas tree lights that Elise used to love. Darkness swallowed everything. "Okay," I whispered into the phone. "Done. Now lock the back door, then the front. Then go to the utility room and grab the flashlight with the red tape on it." I paused. That flashlight had been in that drawer for 10 years. I put red tape on it when Noah was 12, after the blackout storm, so he could find it in the dark. My hand trembled on the drawer handle. "How do you..." "No questions. Flashlight. Now." I did it. The flashlight felt heavy, like I was holding the past. "Got it. Good. Don't turn it on yet. Go upstairs, to the attic. Quiet. And do not step on the 3rd stair from the top. It squeaks." My mouth went dry. Only 3 people knew about that stair. Me, Elise, and Noah. The 3rd stair squeaked because Noah once dropped a toolbox on it when he was 15, and the nail never sat right again. "You're scaring me," I said, my voice breaking before I could stop myself. "I know," Noah said, and I heard something in his breath then. Pain. Anger. The kind of anger that has been aging for years like whiskey in a barrel. "But you have to trust me." The attic hatch was in the hallway ceiling. I pulled the cord, and the ladder unfolded with a soft thud. I climbed up slowly, like the house might hear me. The attic smelled like dust and old insulation, and the faint scent of cedar from Elise's storage chest. I crawled into the dark and pulled the hatch closed. "Dad," Noah said quietly, "tell me when you're in." "I'm in." "Good. Stay still. Turn off your phone screen. Put it face down. Keep the line open. And whatever you hear, don't make a sound." My heart beat so loud I was sure the roof would shake. Then I heard it. A sound from downstairs. Not the ocean, not the wind. A soft click, like a door latch. My stomach dropped. Someone was inside my house. The footsteps were careful, slow, like whoever it was had been here before. They didn't stomp, they didn't stumble. They moved through my home like they knew where the furniture was without seeing it. That's when I realized something that made my blood go cold. They weren't afraid of the dark. They wanted it. Another soft click. Then a drawer opening from the kitchen. Then the faint, controlled exhale of a man trying to keep quiet. Noah's voice in my ear stayed steady. "He's there," he said. I nearly whispered, "Who?" But my tongue froze. "He thinks you're asleep," Noah continued. "He thinks you're old." Slow. Easy. Footsteps drifted from kitchen to living room. I pictured my living room, Elise's faded armchair, the photo of Noah at graduation, the mantel with the little brass lighthouse figurine she loved. Then a heavier sound, a knee on the floor, a rustle, like someone pulling something up. Noah spoke again, quieter now. "Dad, he's going to the spot." I felt the world tilt. There was only one spot in that house I'd call the spot. The loose plank. Elise and I had found it by accident when we replaced the carpet years ago. One floorboard near the living room wall that never sat right. Under it, a cavity between the joists big enough to hide something. We used it once, for something we never talked about again. Noah's breathing hitched. "He's looking for the will." I squeezed my eyes shut. I didn't want to hear the next sound. I heard it anyway. A dull pry. Wood shifting. Then, paper. A folder sliding. My hands clenched so tight the flashlight almost snapped in half. The intruder didn't curse, didn't mutter, just kept working like a man on a schedule. I heard him pull out a thick envelope. Then I heard him whisper to himself, not loud enough for a full sentence, but enough for a name. Hale. My blood turned to ice. Noah said, "Dad, I need you to listen carefully. That man downstairs is Elliot Crane." Elliot Crane. The name landed in my skull like a rock. Elliot Crane was the reason Noah's life had been burned down like dry brush. Elliot Crane was a family friend, a polished smile in a tailored coat, a man who held Elise's hand in the hospital and told us he'd take care of everything, a man who cried at her funeral with tears that looked expensive, and a man who, 2 months later, testified in court while my son stood in chains. Noah's voice trembled now, just a little. "He's the one who framed me." I swallowed hard enough to hurt. I could still see the courtroom. Noah in an ill-fitting suit, wrists raw from cuffs. Elliot on the stand, soft-spoken, humble, pretending to be wounded by betrayal. "What? What are you doing?" I mouthed silently, forgetting Noah couldn't see me. Then Noah spoke the words that made my skin prickle. "I'm outside your house, Dad." I froze. "What?" "I'm in the car across the street. Lights off. I've been here for an hour." My eyes darted in the darkness, like the attic might suddenly reveal a window into the street. "You brought him here," I whispered, then caught myself and went silent again. Noah continued. "Not exactly. He brought himself. He's been circling your estate. He's been waiting for you to die, and he's been trying to find what Mom hid." My throat tightened on Elise's name. "What did she hide?" I whispered. Noah paused. Then, "The truth." Downstairs, I heard the faint snap of a camera shutter. My stomach lurched. He was photographing the documents. Proof, leverage, or destruction. Noah's voice came through like a blade sliding out of a sheath. "Dad, he's not here to steal. He's here to erase." I didn't want to believe Elise had secrets. My wife was the kind of woman who folded towels into perfect squares, who wrote grocery lists in neat little columns, who cried at dog commercials. But Elise had also married a man who worked night shifts on a dock, a man who learned early that the world had corners you didn't look into unless you were ready for what lived there. When Elise got sick, we had months. Enough time for hospice nurses and casseroles and whispered prayers. But in those months, something else happened. Elliot Crane started coming around more. He'd show up with coffee and sympathy, and that soft voice that sounded like comfort. He called himself a trust attorney. Said he'd help us protect the family. I didn't like him. Not from the start. Something about him was too smooth. Like a knife that had been polished so you wouldn't notice it was sharp. Elise liked him at first. Not liked him. But she believed in people. She believed smiles meant something. Until one night, about 3 weeks before she died, I found her in the living room, sitting stiff in the dark, holding a folder on her lap like it was a bomb. "Warren," she said when I walked in, "if anything happens to me, don't trust Elliot Crane." I laughed, because it sounded ridiculous. Then I saw her face. Not fear, not sadness, fury. Elise didn't get furious. Elise got disappointed. Elise got quiet. But fury? That made me sit down. What did he do? She slid the folder across to me. Inside was a copy of a revised will. My name and Noah's had been altered. Not removed entirely, just reduced, like someone had taken a life and trimmed it down to an acceptable inconvenience. The majority of Elise's inheritance, her grandmother's waterfront property, the small investment accounts, even the life insurance payout had been redirected into a trust controlled by Elliot Crane. I stared at the paper until the letters blurred. "That's not my signature," Elise whispered. "And it's not yours." I felt heat rise in my neck. "Then how?" "He said it was temporary," she said, voice shaking. "He said it was to protect us from taxes, from lawsuits, from everything." She looked at me, eyes wet. "I think he's been stealing for years, and I think he's been waiting for me to die." I wanted to storm out, drive to Elliot's office, put my fist through his smile. But Elise grabbed my wrist with surprising strength. "No," she said, "don't. Not yet. He's careful. He covers his tracks. If you come at him angry, he'll win." "How do we stop him?" I asked. Elise took a long breath. "We hide the real will. We hide the documents he doesn't know exist, and we give them to Noah when the time is right." I shook my head. "Why Noah?" Her gaze hardened. "Because Elliot Crane is going to come for Noah." I remember laughing again, because it sounded impossible. My son was a quiet, responsible kid. Straight A's, scholarships, never even got detention. Why would anyone come for Noah? Then Elise said words I still hear in my nightmares. "Because Elliot needs a scapegoat." 2 months after Elise died, Noah was arrested. Federal agents, blue lights, neighbors watching from behind curtains like it was entertainment. They said Noah had committed wire fraud through the shipping company where he worked. They said he'd transferred funds hundreds of thousands into offshore accounts. They had documents, signatures, emails. They had Elliot Crane on the witness stand, looking sad, shaking his head, telling the court, "We all loved Elise, but sometimes grief makes people do terrible things." They made my son look like a criminal. Noah didn't scream, didn't fight, didn't beg. He just looked at me as they cuffed him, and he said quietly, "Dad, I didn't do this." And I believed him the way a man believes gravity exists. But belief isn't evidence. Noah took a plea deal to avoid a longer sentence. 3 years. 3 years of my boy in a concrete box, while Elliot Crane attended charity galas and shook hands with politicians. I tried to fight it. I hired lawyers I couldn't afford. I sold my truck. I sold the boat. I sold the little extra land by the shed. Every time, the answer was the same. "We can't beat the paperwork." Paperwork. As if ink was more real than my son. Noah did his time. He came out quieter. Different. Like prison didn't just punish his body. It rewired his soul. He didn't talk about what happened inside. He didn't complain. He just said, "I'm going to fix it." I asked how. He said, "Not loud, not fast. The way Mom would have done it." And for years he disappeared into work and silence. I thought he was healing. Turns out he was hunting. In the attic, I heard the intruder's footsteps again, closer to the stairs now. He had what he wanted, or what he thought he wanted. Noah whispered into the line, "Dad, he's going upstairs." My throat tightened. "To the attic?" I breathed. "Yes." My eyes went wide in the dark. "How does he know?" "Because he's been here before," Noah said. "He used to come here when Mom was sick. He watched you, watched the house, learned your habits." Down below, the first stair creaked, then the second, then a pause. I held my breath. The third stair. Silence. He stepped over it. My skin crawled. He was close enough now that I could hear the faint scratch of his coat against the wall as he climbed. The attic hatch handle jiggled. Once, twice. I pressed myself against a stack of old boxes, heart hammering. The latch clicked. The hatch began to lower. A thin blade of colder air slipped in. Then, a flashlight beam. Not a phone screen. A proper flashlight. He was prepared. He swept the beam across the attic slowly. Across Elise's cedar chest. across the old Christmas decorations, across Noah's childhood baseball glove, across me. The light hit my face, and for half a second, everything stopped. His beam didn't jerk, didn't jump. It rested on me like a finger pointing. Then he spoke. "So you're awake," Elliot Crane said, voice smooth as oil. I didn't move, didn't answer, because I realized something. If he was talking, he thought I was alone. Noah's voice was still in my ear, barely a breath. "Dad, don't say a word." Elliot climbed into the attic slowly, like a man entering a church. "You know," he said, stepping closer, "I always liked this house. It's got history. It's got vulnerabilities." He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "I'm surprised you lasted this long," he said. "Elise always said you were stubborn." My fingers tightened around the flashlight. Elliot's eyes flicked to it. "Now, Warren," he said gently, "you and I both know you're not going to swing that at me. You're not that kind of man." He leaned in slightly. "And besides, if you hurt me, the police will believe me." I felt rage boil. This man had ruined my son, stolen my wife's legacy, and he stood in my attic like he owned the air. "What do you want?" I whispered, unable to stop myself. Elliot's smile widened. "I want what Elise hid," he said, "and I want it before your son gets here." My blood froze. "He's already here," Noah's voice whispered in my ear. Elliot turned his head slightly, like he'd heard something. Maybe he had. Maybe the truth has a sound. Then Elliot said, "He's not coming, Warren." He pulled something from his coat pocket, a small black device. He clicked it. My phone line went dead. Noah's voice vanished. The attic suddenly felt too quiet. Elliot looked at my phone face down near my knee. "Cute," he said. "Old people still do calls. You should update." I stared at him. "Where's Noah?" I demanded. Elliot's eyes gleamed. "Probably sitting in his car," he said, "waiting like a good little boy." He stepped closer until I could smell his cologne, sharp and expensive. "Let me tell you a story," he said softly, "about men who think time is on their side." He crouched, so we were eye level. "I've been patient. You have no idea how patient I can be." His voice dropped. "But your son has been a problem since the day Elise told him she'd change the will." I felt my stomach twist. "Elise told him?" Elliot nodded slowly, smiling like he enjoyed my confusion. "Oh yes, she told him everything. And he thought he could protect her." Elliot's smile hardened. "So I taught him a lesson." My hands shook with rage. "You framed him." Elliot shrugged. "I guided the truth into a shape people would accept. Judges love paperwork. People love a story." Then he leaned in, and his voice became almost tender. "And here's the part you don't know, Warren." He pointed down at the floor. "The will under the plank? That isn't the real one." My breath caught. Elliot smiled wider. "Because Elise was smart," he said. "She hid the real will somewhere else." He tilted his head. "And I've been searching for 8 years. 8 years. Noah didn't disappear to heal. He disappeared because Elliot never stopped hunting." Elliot straightened and looked toward the attic window at the dark street beyond. "I didn't come here tonight to steal," he said. "I came here to finish." He pulled another thing from his coat. A gun. Small, quiet, like a secret. My heart stopped. "You're going to tell me where Elise hid it," he said softly. "And then you're going to go back to sleep. Permanently." A strange calm settled over me, because in that moment I realized Elliot Crane was here in my attic, alone, confessing. Men like him can't help it. They need someone to know how clever they were. They need a witness. They need applause, even if it's silent. So I gave him the one thing he couldn't resist. I gave him a question. "Why now?" I asked quietly. Elliot blinked. "Excuse me? Why tonight?" I said. "You've waited 8 years. Why break into my house now?" Elliot's smile returned, satisfied. "Because your son made a mistake," he said. He started moving. My blood chilled. He's been contacting people. Lawyers, accountants, old friends. Elliot shook his head like a disappointed teacher. "He's trying to reopen things." Elliot stepped closer. "So I thought I'd end the story before he could rewrite it." He lifted the gun slightly. "And I thought maybe I'd make it poetic. Kill the father. Frame the son again. Who do you think they'll believe?" He smiled. "The ex-con or the respected attorney. My hands trembled, not from fear, from the urge to tear him apart. But then the attic hatch creaked behind him. Elliot's head snapped. A shadow moved at the hatch. Then a voice calm, controlled, spoke from the darkness. "You should have checked the third stair," Noah said. Elliot spun. Noah stepped into the attic like a ghost made of purpose. He wasn't holding a bat, he wasn't holding a gun. He was holding a small camera and a badge. Elliot's smile faltered. "What the hell is that?" Elliot demanded. Noah's eyes were cold. "Federal cooperation agreement," Noah said. "Signed last month." Elliot's face drained of color. Noah continued, voice steady. "I did my time for a crime I didn't commit, but you made a mistake, Elliot." Elliot's jaw tightened. "You don't have proof." Noah lifted the camera. "Actually, I do." Then Noah looked at me, just for a second. And in his eyes, I saw something that broke my heart. A boy who spent years swallowing rage so he could use it properly. "Dad," Noah said quietly. Everything he said, it's recorded. Elliot took one step back. His gun hand shook. He wasn't a hunter anymore. He was prey. "You can't do this," Elliot hissed. "I'll bury you." Noah smiled, but there was no joy in it. "You already tried," Noah said. "Didn't take." Elliot's eyes darted around, searching for escape. But Noah had positioned himself at the hatch. And behind Noah, in the hallway below, came the sound of boots. Multiple boots. Fast. Then a voice shouted from downstairs. "Police! Drop the weapon." Elliot's breath hitched. He raised the gun toward Noah, and that's when I finally moved. I swung the flashlight hard into Elliot's wrist. The gun clattered across the attic floor. Elliot screamed. Noah lunged, pinning him. In seconds, officers flooded the attic. Cuffs clicked. Elliot Crane, perfect hair, perfect suit, was face down in insulation, whining like a man who never thought consequences were real. As they dragged him out, Elliot looked at me, and for the first time I saw fear in his eyes. Not fear of death. Fear of exposure. Fear of losing the mask. He spit. "Elise ruined you." I leaned closer, voice low. "No," I said. "You did." Then I nodded toward Noah, and he fixed it. After the house filled with flashing lights and cold air and officers with notebooks, Noah and I sat in the kitchen. The same kitchen where Elise used to hum while making coffee. Noah's hands shook as he wrapped them around a mug of water. Not whiskey. Not celebration. Just water. Because victory doesn't always taste sweet. Sometimes it tastes like exhaustion. Noah stared at the table. "I didn't know if you'd forgive me," he said quietly. I frowned. "For what?" "For using you," Noah admitted, voice cracking. "For making him come here." I reached across and gripped his wrist hard. "You didn't use me," I said. "You brought me back into the fight." Noah swallowed. Then he reached into his coat and pulled out a small, worn envelope. He placed it on the table like it weighed 100 pounds. "That's the real will," he said. I stared at it. "Where was it?" I whispered. Noah's eyes softened. "In Mom's lighthouse," he said. My breath caught. Elise's brass lighthouse figurine sat on the mantel for years. She dusted it every week. It was hollow. She'd hidden the real documents inside it, wrapped in plastic. Elliot never found it because he never respected what mattered to her. Noah looked at me. "She knew he'd look under the floor," he said. "So she put a fake one there. A decoy." I let out a shaky laugh, half grief, half awe. "She was smarter than both of us," I said. Noah smiled faintly. "Yeah." Then his expression turned hard again. "And I'm not done," he said. I blinked. "Noah, he's arrested." Noah nodded slowly. "For breaking into your home. For assault. For attempted murder." He leaned forward. "But I want him for what he did to Mom, to me, to us." He tapped the envelope. "This proves fraud, forgery, trust manipulation." His eyes were bright with something sharp. "This doesn't just put him in jail, Dad. It destroys him." I stared at my son. And for the first time in years, I saw the boy I raised. Not broken. Not bitter. Just resolved. Noah exhaled. "Dad," he said quietly, "I didn't want revenge." He paused. "I wanted justice." I nodded, throat tight. But inside, I understood the truth. In this world, for men like Elliot Crane, justice feels like revenge. And that's what makes it so satisfying. If you've ever trusted the wrong person, if you've ever watched someone smile while they sharpened a knife behind their back, then you know what it costs to stay silent. And you know what it costs to finally speak. Elliot Crane thought time would protect him. He was wrong, because time doesn't protect monsters. It only gives them room to make mistakes. And sooner or later, a father hears the sound in the dark, and he stops sleeping with one eye open. If you want more stories like this, quiet revenge, real consequences, and the kind of justice that makes your blood run cold, drop a comment with the word lighthouse and subscribe to Dad's Silent Revenge. Because the people in these stories, they always had a chance to behave. They just chose wrong.